Hey, what's going on, everyone? Tyler Boronski here. You're watching my YouTube channel where I'm sitting down with recognizable faces in entertainment and the digital space. Today's guest, he's only 17 years old, but he's a current news and internet culture writer for the Daily Caller and Scriber News. He's Connor McCrory. Connor, thanks so much for taking a few minutes, bro.
Thanks, bro. How's it going?
Man, I'm doing well. It's good to see you. We connected, for the viewers that don't know, we've known each other for a little bit now, about like a year or so ago. We met at an influencer event. You're obviously covering influencers and social media creators for one of the outlets, obviously in the hub right now for it as well, and being based in LA. What interests you about covering influencers and these social media creators?
Before this, privy to this, I had a lot of experience in influencer industry. And I kind of realized like, oh, these influencers are doing amazing things, but at the same time, they're doing really dumb things. So I thought to the older audience, the dumb things would be very appealing. And to the younger audience who's in the Charlie D'Amelio dating, Chase Hudson, Bryce Hall fighting, whoever would be appealing to the younger audience. So you can make that appealing to both audiences, the good and the bad.
What type of stories, I guess, do you necessarily target in a sense? How would you describe that?
Good question. I've done everything from exposing, some of the, I hope I can say this on here, the scum of the internet and the industry. And I've done everything from highlighting some amazing projects that I would say I'm probably the first journalist to cover some of it. I don't know, you know who A-Rack is, the YouTuber? Yeah. I was one of the first media to actually cover him when he was only at, such and such amount of followers. He wasn't blowing up, he wasn't huge. But I kind of kept an eye on him. I saw he was going up, reached out to his team, got that interview, and now we're here, and he's probably one of the top 100 recognizable faces on the internet.
How is that process for you, trying to connect with these, I guess, bigger influencers to try and get an interview, try to get a soundbite for being as young as you are?
Right. To be honest with you, I try as hard not to mention the age.
That's the way to do it, man. Hey, if you act like you belong, or like, you're a professional at the end of the day, like that's all that matters. Age doesn't really factor.
Yeah, you just go with it. To answer your question, it was hard at first. You got to conduct yourself as serious as possible. And now because of COVID, a lot of it's done over the internet. So it's a little easier, but when it was in person, it was a little harder. I do remember struggling getting some of those interviews. But now it's pretty easy. If it's an influencer, I'll go and check if I have any mutuals. I'll reach out to those people. And if not, try to find the best way to contact that person, whether someone might have their phone number or, their personal email, or whether it's their PR person. But you get the yeses and the nos. So it's in between.
Yeah, man, it comes and goes. You get some hits. You sometimes, maybe don't get any responses back, but it's just all part of it at the end of the day.
Right.
For you, I mentioned, you're based in LA, growing up in that environment. For someone that hasn't spent extensive time in LA, what is the vibe? What's the environment like in LA, where there's a lot of these influencers and a lot of people just trying to have a career in the entertainment industry?
Definitely, you got to see a lot of things that I doubt a lot of kids, somewhere like Ohio would never get to experience. The influencer industry, I'll tell you straight off the bat, it's very toxic. There's a lot of people that will screw you. There's a lot of people who will try to be your friend because they know that you're the media and they want to be covered positively. And then there's everything in between. There's the good, bad, and the evil. So growing up here, I think it's not 100% my cup of tea. I like actually different countries a little better than the US, but it's an experience. That's what I would say. And you got to make sure that you can hold yourself to a high standard and not be basically screwing over in this industry.
For sure. I mean, I can kind of echo that as well. Obviously, I'm not in LA, but I've been to LA enough times and spent enough time there where there are definitely pros and cons that come with it. Yes, there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of the people maybe you would want to connect with, but I kind of get that vibe as well sometimes where people are, they're looking out for their careers themselves. So they're trying to see what's the best opportunity for them. And maybe if they get a better opportunity, you might be kind of on the back burner in the sense. So, there's pros and cons that come with that. And the vibe, I guess, sometimes you get there if you're there long enough. I'm curious for you because I know you don't want to bring up the age, but how did you get connected with your first outlet to write for and kind of just pitch yourself that, hey, doesn't matter my age, I'm credible enough to write for you?
Right. So my first outlet I worked for is called myburbank.com. It's a local news agency in Los Angeles. I started covering very local events. Did not get paid. Actually, I would say I lost a little bit of money because you get the gas, you using your own equipment, all this other stuff, own time. There's a little expensive there. Not a big deal. I started writing about the local music events in my city, Burbank, California. There was a lot of local music events. I started writing about those, some of the cover band, the fake Elvis impersonators. And I remember actually going, this is a couple years back, going to it's called the Starlight Bowl in Burbank. And each week, every single week, reoccurring for 8 weeks during the summer, covering every single band that played there. And it taught me two things. One, event photography, and then two, how to tell the news from a first person standpoint, not from what's called do you know what a news jack is?
Explain for the audience.
Right, for everyone who doesn't know, a news jack is basically when agency rewrites a story, right? So if I was, Fox said, Joe Biden is lifting the COVID restrictions across the U.S. Well, you're not the first person reporting that. If I'm Daily Caller and I'm rewriting that. Basically, I was the first. It was first person reporting. I learned a lot from that. And that was the first job, covering events and local entertainment.
What would you tell, and we'll wrap it up here, for someone that is maybe a young, aspiring journalist and they see someone like you that's young as well, but has had the opportunity to cover all these events, connect with all these different people, and actually have an outlet that you're associated with? What would you tell them that they can do now to try to set themselves up later down the line?
Don't write about influencers. No, I'm just messing with you. Write about what you want. You just gotta do it. You gotta start from the bottom, basically. Even if it's Medium, the website where you can self-publish, or if it's the BuzzFeed where you can self-publish, do that. Keep going and going and going and going. Reach out for the opportunities, and just say go for it. Just go for it. It's gonna take a minute.
I agree with that, to just go at it for young journalists, young reporters, because you just need to get into the process of what it's like to try and cover a story or create a story. That's the most important thing. Yeah, maybe you're starting off local stories, or for me, when I started off in minor league baseball, smaller end stuff, but the process is the same whether you're trying to cover a big time story. It's the same process. That, I guess that's my go-to word for it, but it really is true.
Reach out to your local newspaper. That's how I'd say. Unfortunately, my local newspaper is the LA Times, and it's a little bigger. But reach out to your small local newspaper. I think that's a good place to start for any young aspiring journalist.
Awesome. Connor, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it, and looking forward to keeping tabs with your career, man.
Appreciate it.